Stand by for a pop-up show with Franz Beard on the New Year's 6.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Hi-ho, hi-ho, it's off to Atlanta we go. Good afternoon and welcome to a special pop-up edition of the Buddy Martin Show and Franz Beard checking in from his outpost in Gainesville. Hello, Francis, are you happy?
I'm happy that Florida is going to to Atlanta. I'm miffed that Florida's playing Michigan when it would seem that Michigan would be the ideal choice there, being that they're number 7. Why aren't they playing number 5, Georgia? Why did Georgia get a break and get a number 15 team? Why did Penn State at number 12 get left out of the New Year's 6? A lot of questions about a process that I think is really dumb.
All right, we're going to go over all those to you folks as we say good evening to our audience checking in now, to Johnny and Sissy, to Robert and Kyle, to Muddy and Jeffrey and Becky Smith, Carlisle, and Richard, all checking in here. Glad to have you on the special pop-up edition of the Buddy Martin Show. You know, we just pop up on your screen, and there we are. Francis, let's talk about it first. For those who might not have heard the whole breakdown of what's what and who's going where and so on, I would imagine by now it's pretty well known, if you haven't seen the sign on above where Florida's going. That would be, of course, to the Peach Bowl. Let's go over them, okay? And we'll break it down, the Peach Bowl. First of all, just a quick word about the committee, and I've got a list of 10 things, what I think the committee was saying about the first 4. We'll talk about that in a minute. First, we'll talk about the pairings. And we all know, explain to the people who don't know what the New Year's 6 is, because a lot of people don't understand it. It's really not 6, and it's not all on New Year's.
No, it isn't, but it's the you have the playoff teams, and then you have a tier below that, which is to include the next group of teams, and included in that group of teams is supposed to be the best team from the group of 5, which in this case is UCF, which could certainly make a case, which realistically speaking, they're not going to be able to make a case that they belong in the top 4. They could have if Oklahoma had lost and Ohio State had lost with the Georgia loss. But as we see by the committee putting Georgia at number 5, those people are insane. That's not Georgia's not a top 4 team. The Alabama played its worst game of the year. And when they woke up out of their semi-comatose position, they dominated Georgia in the fourth quarter, which they would have done in the first 3. Did you see all the drop passes, the missed blocks, the stupid penalties that Alabama had in the first 3 quarters? That wasn't Georgia's doing. That was Alabama showing up and thinking they're going to walk through this one.
Okay, there's lots of subplots here, and I want to get to the Jalen Hurts one, too, because that's a wonderful story. And really glad. Let's just give the information out for those who don't know. We know. All right, here's what we got. By now, you know what the matchups are. Obviously, semifinal games. And by the way, they're both played the same day as the Peach Bowl. Just so you know, they moved the Alabama Oklahoma game to the Orange Bowl, and so that's an 8 p.m. start on the 29th. And Cotton Bowl, of course, gets the other semifinal game, Clemson and Notre Dame. to keep Oklahoma from getting a decided advantage in the Cotton Bowl, I presume, when he did
Well,
that.
the number one team gets its option.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to choose whether
Right.
there's two bowls out there, two semifinal games, and they get to choose which one. And they chose the Orange Bowl because, essentially speaking, playing in Jerry's world would be
Right.
a home game. And Alabama just played in a home game for Georgia.
Right. So there you go. So we'll get to that game in just a minute too. There's now the New Year's Six ones. We care about the other 4 of the New Year's Six, I should say, because people say, "Well, what is this?" There's only 4 other games. Well, they went like this. Georgia, of course, as Franz alluded to, is playing number 15 ranked Texas in the Sugar. I'm not surprised by that. Georgia, of course, we knew would go there if they lost, although some people thought they should be 4th, and I did not. I was not one of them. I'll get to that in a moment. And then the Rose Bowl was kind of the loser's bowl in a way. Ohio State and Washington, although Washington won its Big Ten, won its Pac-12 championship. Urban wanted to get to that 4th spot, didn't deserve it and didn't get it. And LSU, UCF in the Fiesta. Now that's a
Does it?
That's a good. It does. I mean, I'm glad it's not Florida playing UCF, and I'm glad they're not playing in Arizona. You know.
Well, here's what would have made sense, and that would have been for Georgia to play Michigan in the Sugar Bowl, for Florida to play UCF in the
Peach Bowl.
Peach Bowl, and for LSU and Penn State or LSU and Michigan, and their top 12 teams to play in the Fiesta. But no, LSU UCF will be lucky to draw 55,000 people in that 75,000 seat stadium.
Well, they will because of LSU. LSU's fans travel pretty good. But here's the thing, and by the way, the UCF fans should travel. That's their first big game, bowl game.
They've been there before.
Yeah, I understand, but not to that level though. Anyway, so I think here's how I feel about it. I didn't want to see UCF, I'm glad UCF's doing well. It's good for college sports when our teams do well, except when they go ahead to have the Gators, and I want them to do well. I felt like it might be an unfair advantage to play them without Mackenzie Milton. Boy, I tell you, that kid Darryl Mack played really good. And that comeback they made against Memphis was unbelievable. What a performance! Now, having said that, I wanted the Peach Bowl. Michigan, not so much. I mean, are you like me? You just got Michigan hangover. I was talking to Chris Doring earlier, and he said the same thing. I'm just tired of playing Michigan, and it does nothing for me. I'd rather play UCF. I didn't want to see him play UCF. I'd rather play UCF there than Michigan.
Well, I think Michigan should have, if they're the number 7 team and Georgia's the number 5 team, that's the best matchup. Why aren't they playing in the Sugar Bowl? Why did they give Georgia number 15 Texas? That makes no sense. And for the committee to say, well, we wanted to keep Michigan closer to home. What does that have to do with anything? You want the best matchups. Michigan LSU would have been a great matchup out in the Fiesta Bowl. Georgia, Michigan would have been a great matchup. They blew it, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, to put Georgia number 5 when Georgia loses 2 games and one of the games and doesn't win a conference championship, that doesn't make sense either.
All right, you're on record, and I'm on record. Let's talk about the big picture. What a great finish to the season for the Gators. By the way, it doesn't seem to hurt you to lay out on championship week. Certainly didn't hurt Notre Dame, and didn't hurt Alabama last year. So I guess the big cue is there. You don't want to have to play in a conference championship if you can help it. Big for Florida. What a finish! Of course, the FSU win is still there, and people are still resonating about that. Happy folks in Tallahassee, friends of mine, Gators up there, are still thrilled. They're collecting all kind of bets, including Carlos Alvarez and my buddy Jake Whitfield, who I think who's going to get a chance to beat his friend in town for the first time in 6 years. It means that his friend's going to wear some goofy Gator stuff around because Jake had to wear it the last 5 years. So good stuff there on the team. finished strong. Now a good bowl game. Big difference in the payoff, I think. I don't know what the Peach Bowl pot is. Do you know?
It's going to be a big payoff, but of course, all the money
Goes to the SEC.
Goes to the SEC.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about what the other bowls are. Of course, it doesn't matter if you get an SEC team and you still get part of the money. So,
well, here's the thing: the SEC should be happy with, however, and that is that the SEC's got a team in the playoffs and semifinals, which pays a lot of money. Mm-hmm. They got Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, which is going to pay a lot of money, and then they have Florida and LSU in New Year's Six Bowls, which pays a lot of money. That's 4 teams out of the top 12, and that will pay the conference a lot of money, and everybody will share that money.
Okay, let's stop for a second. And by the way, there's some sentiment for folks wanting to caravan and tailgate. I don't know the situation. I'm not going to be in charge, but I have gotten one message from a member of the Atlanta Gator Club who said, "Come up there and we want to meet you." So it could be a little caravan time, Francis, to up to Atlanta on the 29th if all goes well. I know Chad is looking at possibility of going up, and I'm not sure about Brendan, his work schedule, but could be a return to the scene of the crime. You never know.
It is interesting. I did think about this today. Is Florida's season basically kicked off at SEC Media Days in Atlanta?
That's right.
And the season number 1 is going to end in Atlanta.
There you go.
What a good story that is for it to start and finish all in the same place.
Well, usually when it happens, it's good news for Florida. That's like isn't that the Gators' other home home court, right?
Yeah, well, it is.
New field now, of course. Mercedes-Benz is not the same place, but home city, I should say, because they've done very well in Atlanta.
Well, we won a bunch of SEC championship games in Atlanta. We also won a national championship in basketball in Atlanta. So Atlanta's been good to the Gators. I'm happy for that. It's going to be interesting to see, by the way, how many of these Michigan seniors who are thought to be draft eligible and high draft eligible
get injured.
How many of these guys are going to sit out the bowl game?
They'll be suddenly wearing casts.
Yeah, well, you got Ed Oliver, for example, at Houston, has already said, "I'm not playing in the bowl game."
Mm-hmm.
Now, Houston's not going to a big bowl game, but he's their best player. Some people say could even be the top player picked in the draft. And it's, and here's this guy. I think we'll see a rash of players sitting out. And I think Michigan will have a few of them.
Yeah, we'll see how that works. All right, before we go, we're going to get on to another couple of subjects. And again, we'll keep you apprised of what's going on in terms of any plans. Will be nothing formal or organized, probably, but if the G&K guys girls decide to go to Atlanta, we'll find out what. I'm looking for some of my peeps to speak up on this, for particularly Nat, et cetera. So I'm getting some information on new recruit signees. Have you heard about that, Franz?
Well, we've got the early signing day is coming up in, Wednesday, 2 weeks from Wednesday.
Well, I got a couple names here I'll throw out in a little bit. I'm actually supposedly a 5-star defensive end for 2021, according to what Lynn Tyndall says, but we don't know who it is yet. And so whoever that is, everybody knows, put it in there. And then a 4-star running back for 2020. Those are 2. I do not know any more information than that. But if our people are on it, we're going to have Jason on again.
Higdon.
Beg pardon?
Jason Higdon.
Jason Higdon on here in the next couple of days or so. We'll find out more about it. So let's talk for a second about the best story of the postseason, whether or not you are a Alabama fan or you hate Alabama. And that is the life lesson that was shown by Jalen Hurts, who epitomized everything good about college sports, who really, to my mind, is the guy. When I listened to the show this morning, And I heard the committee, I heard the guy at Reese Davis interview him. I stopped my grandson and replayed it and said, listen to this story about a guy. This is a life lesson. You're going to get knocked down in life. And it's about how you negotiate that and get back up. And here's a young man who had everything going right for him, had no reason to expect anything but the best. He'd taken his team to 2 national championship games. And here he was, lost his job on really one play, to be honest with you, and came back. And then when the season began, he was on the bench. He lost the most important thing in the world. It was a very poignant comment. Did you hear it? When he said, I went to the hotel room with my family, my mom and dad and sister and brother. I was in the hotel room crying. And I said to my father, what are we going to do? And he said, son, we're going to fight. What a great story. And to come out like that, and not just come out, but be totally prepared in every way, mentally, physically. That's what you call a team player. And my hat is off to you, sir, Jalen Hurts, for what you did and your team. They ought to build a statue of that young man in Tuscaloosa because he epitomizes everything that's good about college football.
What does this also say about Kelly Bryant? You know, I mean, Kelly Bryant left his team after, 4 games. He just abandons his team. And in that 5th game, Trevor Lawrence got KO'd. What would have happened if Trevor Lawrence had not been able to play the rest of the season? I mean, people say, well, it was just a concussion. Well, Chase Johnson had a concussion last year for Florida basketball, and he's still not right a year later. Concussions are funny things. And here's a guy that abandoned his team. If I'm a head coach somewhere and Kelly Bryant comes talking to me about coming to play for me, I say, thank you, but no thank you. Find some sucker somewhere. You abandoned your team. Because Jalen Hurts is the perfect example of being a teammate, of being the guy that's willing to suck it up in adverse situations, see it through, and wouldn't you know it, adversity has a way of, what's that old saying, what goes around comes around? Adversity has a habit of coming back around, and here's this guy. And who knows, Tua has a high ankle sprain from what Nick said today.
Yeah.
That means he may not be right on December 29th.
I love the story. Excuse me for interrupting. You love the story whenever he said, what did you whisper to Nick? And Saban was so busy trying to see what happened on the last play, he didn't really already said. And he repeated the phrase he'd been using all season long. Things work out the way they're supposed to, And how many times have we heard that before, friends, in life? Things have a way of working out like they're supposed to. What a wonderful story.
Exactly. And we've had the perfect example of this here in Gainesville this year. In that, here is Felipe Franks, who a lot of people thought would transfer the moment they signed the moment they signed Emory Jones. There are a lot of people who thought he would transfer out. When he had that bad game against Kentucky, a lot of people said, oh, this guy's going to be leaving soon. Well, look at what he's done. Look at how he's developed. He's thrown 23 touchdown passes this year, the most since 2008 when Tim Tebow threw 30. This is a guy that, given another off season to develop and to learn what Dan Mullen likes to do, he might end up being a really great quarterback here.
Yeah, could
and
be.
It just goes to show you, when you put your team first, when you look at your big picture and you understand, okay, what have I done to get better? This is a Nick Saban quote. We've heard Nick Saban say it. We heard Urban how many times say it over the 6 years he was here. What have you done to get better today?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the message. He didn't just, people give you credit for, he hung around, he went to practice, and he helped out and held a clipboard. No, that kid used that for productive time to work on his craft. And at just the precise moment his team needed it, he had it. he threw a marvelous touchdown pass. That touchdown pass was money all the way. And then, of course, made the run. So, yeah, I take off my hat to that young man. I don't care if he stays there or not. They'll build a statue in Tuscaloosa. So,
on the touchdown pass, that was, first off, a throw he couldn't have made last
No,
year.
You're right. He couldn't.
And the second thing is, he had about 6 years of green grass in front of him.
Yeah.
Last year, he tucks it and runs. Instead, he holds the ball, knew he's going to get hit, makes the throw. It's the perfect throw. He gets hit. Doesn't matter. Alabama scores the game.
Right.
Scores.
Right.
And then on the last play, the touchdown, as soon as he broke containment, I said touchdown. I knew that there was absolutely no way anyone was going to catch him or stop him.
Yeah.
That kid, after what he'd been through, wow. When he took off, did you know it in your heart? Did you say it was over? I did.
Yes, exactly. All right, I only got a couple of minutes here left to go. My throat won't hold out. I've been down with the crud for a couple of days. But I wanted to mention two things. One is the recruiting part. Secondly, I want to give you my thoughts. Wrote down a list of what the committee was saying, what they said, then tell you about what the Central Michigan folks said about their new head coach, which I think you'll particularly enjoy, okay?
Old Yeller.
Yeah, I'll let you know about that. So let's take, apparently what my peeps are telling me here, and they're all good about this. There's apparently this young man, now I'm not going to deal in rumors there about Justin Fields and all that stuff, but there's apparently a guy, a 5-star defensive end named Bryce Langston. Linda Lohr is very good about following stuff like that. That's one of the ones. Imagine a 5-star defensive end. Wasn't it just a year ago we said that people were saying they'll never get any good players there anymore? I think
Bryce Langston's from Vanguard. He's from your backyard.
Right. I know.
6'3", 215 pounds, and he is an absolute stud.
Yeah, and they also just got the guy who plays quarterback for 2021, Rucker.
Trevante Rucker.
Yeah.
They've gotten a 4-star Kamar Wilcoxon, an offensive tackle that they really like named George Jackson.
Right.
Things are going well.
Yeah. I'll have Coach Farmer on probably a little later next week. We'll find more about Langston. Also,
got a kid from Dunellen, which is your neighborhood.
Yes,
too,
I know.
2020 Jaquavian Fraziers.
Man, we're just turning them out here in Marion County. What can I say to you, man? And you were at the table the other night when we had those 4 Scott Bradley finalists. Was that an impressive group or what?
Oh goodness, what really good kids those are.
They really are.
Every one of them, not just a really fine football player, obviously, but a kid that's a tribute to his school, his parents, his community, his church, all these things. Mm-hmm. And wow,
makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Well, it makes me feel good about the kids, and it also makes me feel good that the Scott Brantley Trophy people hit a grand slam on their first time at bat. You know, that wasn't just a home run selection. Picking those 4, that was a grand slam. Right.
Nintendo says we need the other kid, Manuel from Vanguard, as a 5-star wide receiver. They got some talent out there. I'll tell you what, Coach Farmer does a heck of a job. All right, now we'll get Jason Higdon next. We will catch up with them. Let's see. Let me just go through this, and I want to read it and do you comment. All right. I know you want to agree with all of it. This is what I wrote down today. What the committee is saying about the Final Four selection. Number 1, conference championships matter when we want them to matter. Number 2, the scoreboard of your last game counts. See Georgia. Number 3, style points don't overcome scoreboard results. Number 4, rematches, not so much. Number 5, how badly a team loses leaves a bad taste in their mouths. Number 6, you can take championship week off by choice, see Notre Dame, or by chance, Alabama last year, and still make the Final Four on your resume. Number 7, one of the requirements for qualifying is not, repeat, not team ballots. No defense, no problem. Number 8, when we don't have a policy for it, we make one up on the spot. Number 9, the SEC does not trump all. Number 10, the Big Ten is not the best conference in football.
Well, I've got to agree with that, and I'll throw one other thing in there. 2 losses isn't going to get you in unless there are extenuating circumstances, and there were no extenuating circumstances here. Georgia, all Georgia has to do is win a game, and they're ahead by 14 points going into the fourth quarter.
Just close the game and just close it.
Not only that, they got absolutely cremated by a team that Alabama shut out.
Yeah.
This talk about why Georgia's number 5 instead of Ohio State blows my mind. Granted, as I said earlier on the show, buddy, Alabama picked yesterday to play its worst game of the season and still won. Georgia played as well as it's capable of playing and saw Alabama bringing its Z game for 3 quarters. But the moment Alabama flipped the switches, went to the A game, it was all over for the Poodles.
Yeah. Made you happy, didn't it?
I sat there and, I hate to say I am gloating, but I was glowing. I was glowing.
You were glowing and gloating. I called that.
The only thing better than watching Georgia get absolutely destroyed, like 99-0, is watching them have their hearts broken like that. Watching all those people cry in the stands, and there were people boo-hooing, and oh my gosh, I loved every second of it.
Yeah, that was good stuff. All right, here it is. We'll close out with this. And thanks to everybody for jumping on moment's notice today. All you folks in there, I appreciate it. We'll get your thoughts, as many thoughts up as we can. And we're going to be letting you know more about plans as we go along. All right, here's the story out of Michigan. All right,
Mount Pleasant, Michigan.
Yeah, is that where it is, Mount Pleasant? All right, from the Detroit News. Okay, this came from an official, either the AD or whoever it was. McElwain. This is their press release. McElwain was at Michigan for 1 season after 3 seasons as head coach at Florida, where he went 22-12. Prior to that, he posted a 22-14 record as Colorado State's head coach. Doesn't say anything about the 4-7, does it, or whatever it was? Yeah. Coach Mac. Here's the quote: Coach McElwain recruits outstanding student athletes and gets the best out of them. He motivates his players and holds them accountable. Athletic Director Michael Alford said in a statement, he expects them to practice hard, win, go to class, graduate, and be strong members of the community. I've seen firsthand that Coach Mack is a proven winner.
Okay. Well, all I got to say is this. If Central Michigan president and athletic director are really concerned about their school image, take the guy to a dentist and tell them to whiten his teeth. They don't need a guy whose teeth match the yellow in their uniforms.
Well, it was a press release, let's be honest. Here's what Joey McBrayer says. He says, did Central Michigan do any research? And Tracy says, ha, fake news.
Well, when you're 1-11, even Jim McElwain can seem like a step in the right direction.
That's true. That is very true.
I mean, when you are the sludge on the bottom of the septic tank, the water above the sludge looks like a good place to be.
I hate to rain on people and kick them when they're down, but I got to say McElwain is one of the worst coaches I can remember at Florida.
Could have been a lot better than he was, but so much of this is about attitude, buddy. And this is a guy that never really and truly, he embraced being Jim McElwain. He didn't embrace being a Gator. He's a guy that I'm convinced knows a lot of stuff. You can't work under Nick Saban for 4 years and not know a lot of stuff. But he's a guy that didn't know how to implement what he knows.
Exactly. He brought Nick Saban's playbook down, but didn't know how to execute it.
Well, he didn't even do that. This was the first time he'd run his own offense.
I mean, literally, not just to call the plays. I meant playbook for all life, for everything, not just the plays. And to sit up there and tell us his dog could play quarterback, and that was an insult. And
it was, and we all laughed that first day.
Then we realized he was serious.
And we thought, wow, this guy's got a sense of humor. And it only took us one season to realize he wasn't kidding. He really thinks he's that arrogant. Yeah. And, I'm glad he's getting a second chance, and I hope that the lessons he learned at Florida will translate into success at Central Michigan. I really hope that for him.
Right.
That being said, my expectation is not high.
But I think it's really rare. It's about his level. And Central Michigan is going to find mid-major program and all that. He should have stayed at Colorado State, really.
This is the Peter principle at work. And instead, he rose to his highest level of incompetence. Now he may have gone down to a level in which he is competent.
My friends couldn't believe it out in Colorado when they hired him. Anyway, a couple things. Have you heard any of Len Tindall says, have you heard any news about Loxley leaving Bama?
He will interview tomorrow. They're interviewing 3 people. One of the people they're interviewing is Pep Hamilton, who is the quarterback's coach at Michigan. Then they're interviewing Loxley, and then the fallback is Todd Canada if neither of those other 2 guys say yes. Loxley, I have a feeling Loxley is going to turn him down because I don't think Mike Loxley is dumb enough to go play in the same division with Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State, because at Maryland, I don't care how well you're going to recruit, you're not going to out-recruit those guys, and you're not going to beat those guys. They got better facilities, they got more money, they got more everything. And why doom yourself to that? Another year with Nick, and there will be better jobs that are available, and he could get one of them.
Apparently, we found out that they did their research on Wikipedia on McElwain. According to what Joey says. There you go.
Considering that Wikipedia has in there that Tommy Curtis, who was a point guard at UCLA, won 2 state championships at Tallahassee Leon, and they never even made it past the districts at Tallahassee Leon.
All right, here's a kudo for you. Good way to end. My throat's gone. Johnny Rector says, Buddy Franz is your best guest. Love and live by y'all's opinions. Well, I don't know what it says about that, but I do know he means Franz is, of course, more than a guest. Right, there you go. Chris got it right. Franz isn't a guest. He is family. That's from Chris DeCubas. You got that right. He's family.
And thanks for the many nice things that get said about me. It's far more than I deserve, and I appreciate everybody taking the time. I appreciate that everybody's got 5 minutes to waste every day to read what I write.
I'm a little worried about this guy saying he takes our opinions and loves and lives by them. It's a little bit. Here's another love note. Franz is the best from Kyle. So many fans. And by the way, he's even better at his writing, although he's pretty good at this too. The writing is a very valuable. Okay, he's inspired me to actually pull out my computer in January and start doing some writing again. I know. When's the next? What's the next column?
It's my regular thoughts of the day, but one of my subtopics is going to be: does Georgia belong in the playoff? Another one of my subtopics is expect expansion talk, because I believe that the Big Ten not having its champion in for the third consecutive year. I cannot see Jim Delaney standing for that much longer. You know, what's that old line from Popeye? I've stood all I can stands. I can't stands no more. Well, I think that Jim Delaney might have had his Popeye moment today.
Okay, here's David Reese. Here's a note from David Reese, the dad. Yes, the rematch. No blue. Before you go forward, let me give you the other love notes you got here. Chris says, Franz, you're a great writer. You could write for a paper or something. Chris says, yeah, he could do that, and then he get paid nothing like he gets paid here. There's another one says, Kevin says, Franz, love your thoughts of the day. Joe wants to know, when will the Crown Prince be back on again? Crown Prince has got a day job now. He's traveling. He's home a day, and now he's going to New Jersey. So anyway, make a good team. We've been doing this a while, Franz and I, and I go back. I'm proud to say I'm a member of a group that we were at when back on our peak when we had all the resources. You and I, and Brendan, and a few others, Tim Casey, etc., Justin Wells. We hit it. We cold cocked it, man. I tell you, we had a great thing going, and we were grateful for the Washington Post for naming us then. I won't even mention the site's name, but the best college football site in America. So that's back in the day. Now just a couple of schlubs, going here on Facebook Live with you and enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, buddy, people don't realize that, buddy, that you and I go back to the days when there was such a thing as Cocoa Today. And the 73 Masters, when I lost my first gear in the mud outside the Masters on a rainy Saturday at Augusta National.
Okay, here's a note from a couple people. Just flipped a 3-star Miami lineman, offensive lineman, according to Chad Jeffrey. 3-star lineman. How about that? Yes, that's right, Francis. We did that. We rode that at MG. We couldn't get it to reverse gear. You and I and the late Ray Holloman. And we burned the midnight oil for traveling all over the Southeastern Conference together, then doing many a shows and writing many a story, and many late night 2 a.m. breakfasts at places like Denny's, talking about life and about the future of the Gator football team. Many, many nights.
Well, the good news is A, we survived it all, and B, still around, still kicking, and still finding that we work pretty well as a team.
There you got it. Francis, we'll leave it on that up note for the night. Well, I still can talk, and we'll do this again tomorrow night, and we'll see what else we learn between now and then. It's a good day. Florida going to the Peach Bowl, friends. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. I put it right up on the screen up there, and if all goes right, maybe we'll show up there. You never know. You have a great night, Francis. Thanks for all your good stuff, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, Franz Beard. He always brings his A game, doesn't he? Always.